Welcome to another conversation in People in Fundraising. This podcast features interviews with nonprofit professionals who discuss their career journeys, lessons learned, and enthusiasm for working in fundraising. And here is your host, the founder of People in Fundraising, Tim Wilson.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, December 9th, 2025, and I'm very excited to welcome today's guest, Brittany Morrison, to People in Fundraising. Good afternoon, Brittany.
Hi, Tim. Thank you so much for having me today. I am happy to be here.
My pleasure. I'm excited to talk with you. Chris Schuler, who was my 146th guest, and his interview aired sometime this past summer. After I aired his interview, he said, "Hey, Tim, you've got to talk to Brittany." And he connected us. I'm glad he did. And thank you for making the time today to share your career journey and what you do in the social impact nonprofit world, Brittany.
Yeah, no, I'm honored. And as I mentioned earlier, this is my first time to be on a podcast. So I'm very excited to share my story. It's really a big part of how I arrived in this place. So you'll hear more about that. But yeah, I'm just really happy to be here.
Terrific. And before we get to our questions, Brittany, if you can please share with our audience what you do, your company name, what your title is, where people can find you and your company on LinkedIn and elsewhere, please.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Brittany Morrison, as you said, and I'm the founder of Bespoke Advisory. And that is a company that I founded here in Austin, Texas, designed to really collaboratively construct impact through strategic philanthropy. And I'm based here in Austin. I have a daughter who's in third grade here, but I serve folks, my business serves folks both locally and all over.
Terrific. And as B, as in just the letter B in your first name?
It is. And my website is B, the letter B, SPOKE advisory.com.
Terrific.
Not to be confused with BE, Spoke Advisory. A lot of folks call me B, so that's kind of
Oh,
how that came to be.
terrific. I like that. Thank you for that. And we'll get into where people can find you on LinkedIn as well, because some of my questions today are based on some really moving and thought-provoking posts that you have shared on LinkedIn since we got connected. Before we get to that point, though, Brittany, I'd love for you to take a few minutes and tell our audience how you entered the fundraising profession, please.
Gosh, this is such a layered answer. There are so many small things that led me, some very big things that led me to this space. And I'm going to do my best to answer that question concisely.
Sure.
And first, I'll say I was really fortunate, kind of as I entered the workspace as post grad, right? Like in my first jobs, to really see a dedication to community and giving back
Mm,
through people I admire and respect, through mentors. For example, the founders of the company I worked for many years in commercial real estate, before I transitioned full time into philanthropy, they walked the walk. They were
mm,
generous in both time, or I guess time and treasure, but also just incredible leaders in the community. And I think through osmosis, I kind of like unknowingly was being mentored by them in that
mm.
way. So
Yeah.
that's one area that I think influenced my view on the importance of service to community.
Mm,
But on a deeper level, I really didn't seek out a career in philanthropy. It pursued me.
mm.
I like to say that, but more so, I think it kind of haunted me.
Oh,
Um, in a weird way, in that I have gone through some of life's most difficult challenges.
mm,
And, you know, by being courageous and sharing my story on the other side of those experiences, I've not only been able to heal from those experiences, but built resiliency in myself, honor legacies of folks I've lost,
mm,
and really, the happenstance of it was being able to elevate the mission and causes that I care about because of those
Yeah.
experiences. So there's kind of a deeper layer to that that I can kind of start getting into, and we can always take it whatever direction you'd like. But um, really, I think many people's philanthropic stories begin from a place of abundance. They have surplus of resources that they are wanting to share with their community, or they have extra time that they're looking to volunteer with or donate to an organization to help improve their outcomes, whatever it may be. For me, however, my journey into philanthropy really began from a place of tragic loss.
Oh.
And,
Mm.
I don't know that that's unique to me all in itself, but I, by the age of 22, had lost my father, my grandmother, my aunt, and my mother.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, it
Mm.
was really
Mm.
within about a 5-year period that
Oh,
I
goodness.
experienced all of those losses. So it was, life was coming at me fast. And my mom, her name was Lisa, she was only 47 when she passed away.
Oh,
And I was an only child of a single parent, dropped into a caregiving situation. And it was really that experience with her through the end of her life that led me, it was her death that led me into philanthropy.
wow.
Um,
Yeah.
so there's
Mm.
an organization here in Austin, it's called Hospice Austin.
Okay.
They are the only nonprofit hospice in Central Texas.
Whoa.
And that is a big deal. Yes, it's
Yeah.
a big deal. There are actually 44 for-profit hospices in this area. So,
Mm.
what differentiates them is that they have a charity care program called Hospice Access for All. And that ensures that anyone, regardless of their age, their diagnosis, whether they're insured or not, has access to quality, compassionate end of life care.
Yeah.
And so my mom sadly struggled with alcoholism. And at the end of her life, she was in a pretty low place. She didn't
Mm.
have, you know, really anything,
Mm.
few pennies to rub together. She didn't have insurance. So I learned years later that my mom actually was on the Hospice Access for All program.
Oh.
And that is really kind of how I became really passionate about their mission because the experience I had with Hospice Austin, just the day that my mom passed away, their level of care, the compassion, the expertise,
Mm.
the going above and beyond that they did to not just take care of my mom, but to take care of me.
Sure.
Um, that was a life-changing experience, and I couldn't imagine a world where I didn't have access to that, right?
Yeah.
And so I became really, passionate about wanting other people to have that support. And ultimately, I ended up using Hospice Austin's services again in 2023 when
Mm.
my stepfather was diagnosed with ALS.
Oh boy. Mm.
Yeah, lots of loss.
Yeah.
And that was a really gut-wrenching one for me because he wasn't technically my stepdad. He was a father figure to me.
Yeah.
He was really close with my mom and my daughter. He was her grandfather.
Oh wow.
Um,
Yeah.
he was kind of like the one person I knew I could always count on, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
And he
Mm.
also was like a connection point to my mom because he knew her.
Yeah.
And so when he became sick, he went downhill very quickly.
Mm.
The disease progressed rapidly, and he was on Hospice Austin's palliative care program for a short time. And then we ultimately transitioned him to their full hospice program.
Mm.
He passed away on June 8th in 2023.
Okay.
And I am about to answer your question, actually
Yeah.
answer your question,
That's
but
this is
um,
fine.
yeah, it's kind of been this sequence of events.
Yeah.
My mom passed away in 2010. So
Mm.
2010, fast forward to 2023, those years in between, I've been really involved in Hospice Austin. I've been on their
Oh, okay.
board. I've been, a gala chair. I've fundraised on peer-to-peer platforms for them and really did a lot of speaking engagements to
Yeah.
try to, raise awareness. So Jim, my stepdad, he was aware of how important Hospice Austin was to me and to us at the end of my mom's life.
Yeah.
And also, he knew that he was going to need their services.
Yeah.
And so, on the other side of his death, he had left a gift in his estate to the
Oh, nice.
organization, which was really special and is a testament to the person that he is and was. But I had already agreed to chair that year's gala for
Mm,
Hospice Austin, which was in November of 2023. So just a few months after he passed away. And I was sitting in the room watching the video that we had recorded, talking about my mom and Jim and their story and this imprint that Hospice Austin has just left on our lives.
yeah.
And it was like I was struck in the heart with this kind of awakening or epiphany.
Yeah.
Hey, like this is the work you're called to do. It's
Wow.
time to shift your focus away from commercial real estate. It's been good to you. You have this incredible network, wonderful experiences, but it's time that fulfillment and purpose be the driver behind
Mm,
how you use your skills.
yeah.
And that really is like, I remember it so distinctly. I was in a room full of 1,000 people, and I can remember it like it was just yesterday. And I filed my LLC a few weeks later and have kind of been trying to figure it out ever since. But it's a very long story, and I kind of hate that it drones on and on a bit. But it's like all of those connection points are, examples for me of how through grief comes growth,
Yes.
and out of loss you can have new life. And there's a lot of beauty in these messy processes. And so yeah, I think it brought me to where I am today in a very winded, twisty way.
Yes. Well, I so appreciate you sharing that story, Brittany, that the journey of your story to where you are now. And I'm so sorry for all these deeply personal losses and to hear how you have navigated grief over that span of time and gotten to a place of as a volunteer, certainly, and you've been volunteering with Hospice Austin for years, and now to make that impact in a career setting as well is really admirable. I think that's
Yeah.
terrific. I think as you were so thoughtfully talking about your story, I was thinking, um, well, one, I was definitely listening, but two, I was thinking about my experience with loss and how that's kind of impacted me as a donor. So, my childhood best friend's mom passed away in 1989. I was 14 and he was almost 16. Um, and it wasn't until 5 years or so ago that I started donating to his mom's scholarship at the university in the town that we grew up in. And to this day, it's the only nonprofit that I am a sustaining donor to. And I think it's just that personal tie, the connection, um, honoring the loved one, their memory, and hoping to carry on some of their impact and their work and have it impact other people's lives. And you're a great example of that, of working through some really hard moments and times in life and now being at a point to think how I can make a really positive impact on other people.
Well, I appreciate that. And it ties through kind of the whole conversation today, but I think a big catalyst for me in kind of how I healed and built resiliency through these experiences is, hey, I don't want anyone else to have to go through these things in a way that's scarier or harder
Sure.
or sadder than it has to be, or I don't want them to have this same experience that I did.
Yes.
And if I can make even an incremental change, if I can just help someone know that that service exists,
Yeah.
whether they choose to support it or not, I think I'm a big awareness builder. I'm like, it's kind of like, you're out there with your megaphone, like, hey, did you know? And people always joke, they're like, oh yeah, don't sit anyone next to Brittany at the dinner table. Like she'll just talk about death and dying and like hospice care and but it's incredible because the relationships, the depth of the relationships I've formed with people by connecting on grief and loss and just trials and tribulations of life, those relationships are some of the most fulfilling and enriched, textured relationships I have. And I would never have those. I wouldn't have had
Yeah.
the opportunity to form those deep connections with people. I couldn't imagine my life now without some of the people and experiences I've come about on the other side of loss. So it's
Yeah.
kind of an odd thing to be grateful for your grief and
Sure.
grateful for loss, but it's led me down so many incredible pathways that I couldn't say I'm not grateful.
Yes. So you were just talking, Brittany, about um, loss and making sure that other people don't go through those experiences any harder than they naturally are. And so I think let's now start as if we're starting from what I'll edit out. And if you can just talk a little bit about um, what what has been your own takeaway from being such a longtime volunteer for Hospice Austin. It's certainly you're giving a lot to other people, and then I would just be curious to hear, what has your involvement done for you personally, and as a volunteer leader as well. So you can think about that for a second, and then I'll rephrase it in a way that's kind of concise. We can pick it up from there as if that's the continuation of the recording.
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay.
I think I have I think I have a good I think I have a good rebuttal to that.
Okay. Terrific. So we had to change locations here in my office. Um, I was really moved, Brittany, as you were talking about your involvement with Hospice Austin and as an outlet for the experiences you've gone through in your earlier years. I can imagine being a longtime volunteer, and as you talked about the gala chair earlier, I'm curious to know how your life has been impacted through your involvement with this nonprofit, and particularly this nonprofit, but maybe others as well. Because I think it's easy for me in my share to imagine, oh, like Brittany is raising money and she's connecting people to wonderful, meaningful services in a time of deep need. Also, I'm curious how your involvement has benefited your life.
I would say other than just deep fulfillment
Hmm.
and in that work, I I really have a lot of fun with it. And I think, when you are good at something, you enjoy doing it more.
Sure.
And I think that I found a skill set in myself that I may not have otherwise known existed. And, hey, I'm kind of good at this fundraising thing.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun getting people to say yes to you. And I did have a bit of a sales and business development background in my professional life, but being able to marry those things with service to community, right? Hey, this is my professional mindset, but in my skill set, now I can translate that over here. And then seeing how this work in the community and more on that nonprofit side also enriched and benefited me professionally.
Yes.
It positioned me as a leader in my community. It gave me opportunities to challenge myself in new ways and step into roles that I may not have really had the experience or expertise prior to,
Yeah.
saying yes to that. So it stretched me, it grew me, and it gave me an opportunity to build my different competencies and confidence. And
Yeah.
that really is a huge pillar of my business is competency and, competent philanthropy. Because if you're not competent in what you're doing, you're not going to show up confidently.
Right.
And it's not going to feel as good for you. You're going to be uncertain and unsteady and questioning. And so I really hope to inspire and co-construct, a world with more competent, confident philanthropists. And
Yeah.
so I think that it was part of what really inspired me to start this business in the first place.
Wonderful. I have a follow-up to that piece of the conversation. I first, though, I think there's a really nice tie-in to the second question there. We talked about confident and competence. In one of your LinkedIn posts that I referred to at the beginning, you mentioned that your word of the year for 2025 has been big-heartedness. And I'll quote you from here, your LinkedIn post, the quality of being generous, kind, and willing to help others. End quote. So if you can please share, Brittany, how you developed this word for your 2025. How did you know that that would be your word for the year? And as a third part of that, how has that been manifested in your personal and professional experience this year?
I love this question. I really do. And I didn't have to think too hard about how to answer it, which is nice for me.
Yeah.
But I'll start by saying that heart as a word itself is nuanced for me.
Yeah.
It carries layers of meaning because I am a two-time heart attack survivor.
Whoa.
Shock and awe, right?
My
Most people
goodness.
are shocked to learn that. Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Um, I obviously don't look like the kind of person who you would immediately think of as, someone who suffered from heart attacks.
Definitely.
I had my second in 2024 on Mother's Day and my first in April, no, excuse me, February of 2022. So this has been fairly recent,
Wow.
very relevant in my life for the
Yeah.
last 3.5 years or so. And,
Hmm.
all throughout these, health struggles that I've been navigating, obviously a lot of uncertainty, fierce advocacy for myself. I
Hmm.
would surely be dead as a doornail if I had not fought so hard to be taken seriously as a cardiac patient.
Wow.
So I really clung to the mantra of keep heart.
Hmm.
Keep heart, Brittany. To me, that means keep going
Yeah.
up, persevere. And boy, I've had to do that. Losing my stepdad in 2023, losing my health, my trust in my body, navigating my career, financial challenges throughout all of that, just the weight of it all. It was overwhelming at
I can
times,
imagine.
most of the time. So I've actually I'm not a huge person when it comes to hey, I'm gonna tattoo this on my body, but I've thought about getting keep heart somewhere where I can see it every day to remind myself of everything I've had to overcome,
Yeah.
everything I'm still navigating, and the reasons why I have to keep heart, right? The future that I
Yeah.
have ahead of me. So weaving heart into my vision and goals for 2025 was important to me. It felt very in my integrity. So
Yeah.
that part was easy. But yeah, it's usually really surprising to people. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the surprise. I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I love to be a little thought-provoking.
Uh-huh.
And I think the idea of big-heartedness, it's an all or nothing concept. If you're not big-hearted, then what are you?
Yes.
Are you half-hearted? Are you a quarter-hearted? Are you, are you
Right.
small-hearted. There's not a lot. You can be warm-hearted, you can be kind-hearted, but those are feelings.
Yeah.
Big-heartedness is like an action-oriented, thing that you are.
Yes.
It's a state of being, not a feeling. And I think you have to, it prompts you to ask yourself and kind of take that self-assessment, gut check. Would I characterize myself as big-hearted? Am
Yeah.
I generous, kind? Am I willing to help and serve others? Am I doing that? Am I serving others? And if you're not able to say with confidence, I am a big-hearted person, you need to ask yourself, like, what things need to shift, what priorities need to change, or what support do I need to seek out so that I can develop this trait within myself.
Yeah.
So I love the thought-provoking nature of it, and it felt a little edgy. I don't know if that's just me, but it was something different. And I like to try to think a little outside the box. So that's how I came up with it.
I really love that. And I like how you mentioned, Brittany, that, yes, there is a warm-hearted, kind-hearted, those are feelings, but you are translating that feeling into an action with big-heartedness. And I think as you were talking, I thought, man, like that is so spot on, at least as I view the world too. Like lots of people are very happy and comfortable sharing their emotions on topics. I think generally there's a real need for people to go from emotion to action
Yes.
because we are in neighborhoods and communities and towns and on up drifting away from each other in very fundamental ways. And so I really think you've hit on something where you go from emotion to action and investing in your communities, however you define that, is awesome.
Well, I'm glad it resonates with you. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just like out here on my own with my silly ideas and beliefs about the world. But I will say this, and I was, I think, going to say it somewhat in my closing as well. But you know, I believe, and I hold tightly to this belief that most people are big-hearted,
Hmm.
and they carry that feeling in them. Where we are lacking is in putting that first foot in front of the other. And oftentimes it's just a result of analysis paralysis,
Yeah,
not knowing how to get started,
yeah,
wanting a little bit of strategy or support in navigating that ecosystem within your community. And that's also a big reason, where I saw problem solution. We need
yes,
to be shepherds of these big-hearted people. And
yes.
that's really kind of how I view myself in what I do.
I love that. I admire you for doing that, Brittany. That's great.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
I want to get to that follow-up from uh, before that last question about big-heartedness. And you talked about client work with Bespoke. If you could just tell us a little bit about, without mentioning, client names and such, but you did mention earlier, locally and beyond for a client base. I'm just curious, sort of the makeup of your clients. Are they mostly in healthcare? Are they in community services, arts? Is it a mix of all of those?
I started out working with a lot of local nonprofits,
Mhm.
supporting them in their fundraising, development, event strategies.
Okay.
Everything ties back to development and fundraising.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of wonderful people in that industry who are dropped into these very demanding, high pressure roles without the tools, infrastructure, and training to succeed.
Yeah.
And, the weight of the world is on their shoulders, and we're facing some of the most challenging times in fundraising, the most saturated spaces. I mean, in Austin specifically, there are over 15,000 nonprofits,
My goodness.
more per capita than anywhere in the country, I believe. So, we're doing a lot here. And, many are doing it well, some are not, not because of a lack of good intention, but But that work with those nonprofits, you know, I think helped me realize that I felt like I was treating a symptom of a bigger problem. We
Mm,
could go out and raise billions of dollars.
yeah.
And, you know, it's instead of kind of firing one bullet at a target and hitting it, we're spraying bullets everywhere and barely grazing anything,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, gosh, this is such a grind. And I feel like I'm making a difference, but like, am I?
Right.
And
Right.
what I saw was the gap
Mm,
between funder and need. And where the deficit lies is proper stewardship and education
mm.
of the funder. And, you know, there are people in our community who have big-heartedness ripe for the picking,
Yeah.
and we just need to find the right ways to steward them and educate and inform them. And also, there are so many innovative ways to engage in philanthropy now. It
Mm,
is very intricate. It's not the simple act of writing a check. There are,
good.
you know, mission-related investments, social impact-related investments. There are donor advised funds. You can donate appreciated assets, stock. I mean, there's all of these things that people don't know they can do and,
Right.
you know, to give. And so I say all of that because I began working with a lot of local nonprofits, many of them touching the healthcare space, interestingly enough.
Okay.
I'm very passionate about, you know, health equity.
Yes.
So it's makes sense that that is where I was led.
Right.
But my focus really shifted to working with family offices,
Oh,
corporations and businesses, families, individuals, people who are looking to strategize their giving and
oh,
innovate those processes and do it with intention.
mm,
And it is so much fun. And I love the collaborative process and nature of it, and just really that anyone could be a partner to me in my
yeah.
work is really, you know, the world is my oyster
Yeah.
as far as, you know, who I could work with. And you obviously need to be in a values aligned partnership, but
Right.
you know, geography doesn't restrict me, and I think that's really exciting. I think it gives me so much opportunity for my world to open up through
Yeah.
this, right? I don't want to just open up other people's worlds to new things. I also value having my world opened up, and I learn so much about people and relationships and family dynamics and the way businesses run. It's
I
like I'm a sponge all the time. So it's really really dynamic kind of how my client base is structured.
That's fascinating. It must be a very unique lens that a lot of people in day-to-day fundraising. I'm an institutional fundraiser in prospect management and research, and so for me and my coworkers just outside this room, we are working primarily with alumni or companies in the area. For you to have access to, as you mentioned, family offices, and I just can imagine it must be such a unique lens on how a family that is cohesive in some ways, but they individually have perhaps very different views on how to leave a legacy and even discuss finances, family finances. Um,
Oh
that
yeah.
that must be eye-opening.
It's challenging because there are generational differences in how these things should be discussed. And oftentimes a lot of these things are brought about by conversations kind of necessitated in estate planning or,
Yeah,
you know, it uncomfortable topics.
yeah,
Or oftentimes a patriarch of a family perhaps passes away. Everything is transferred to the matriarch, and she wasn't prepared.
yeah.
And then the children don't know what's going on because nobody talked about it.
Right.
And, you know, there's, you know, infighting and
Yes.
like, and then there's the families who are like so open and so dialed in on being aligned in their values and the, you know, they have a mission statement that guides like how they give and how they, how they lead in their communities. And
Yeah.
I think that's really important, that those are really easy yeses and easy nos.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like sometimes you just have to sit back and like let them be who they are and let them know that you need to make this, you're here to make this as easy as possible for them. Like they don't have to do as much of the heavy lifting as you would think.
Yeah.
Um, and so when you can kind of try to take some of that out of the dynamic, it helps. You're a buffer.
Totally. I'm so glad you mentioned the mission statement piece because I was going to weave that in. There was an article, I think, in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times about 3 weeks ago about this very topic, family offices and mission statements, and how people like you in the philanthropic sector, but also financial advisors, let's say Morgan Stanley, for example, um, are seeing a trend of more of these families developing mission statements. Because as you mentioned, Brittany, like what are the family values that the patriarch, the older generation wants to pass down and instill in the rising generations? So I'm so glad you mentioned that piece. It was an interesting article, and I'm happy to share it with you if you didn't get a chance to see it.
Yeah, I
Um,
would love to see it and
yeah.
we love to see it. We love to see a mission statement. I will nerd out on, developing a mission statement all day long and I think everyone should have one. This isn't reserved for the family offices or the foundations of the world. Like
Yeah.
every individual or family should have a mission statement for how they are approaching their life, not just their legacy or how they want to give, but like how are you spending your time? Where are you
Yeah.
directing your energy? Because, a friend said to me this weekend, where you apply the gas, you will go.
Mm.
Well, do you want to know where you're going? Like where's your destination and
Right.
what's the roadmap? And that
Yeah.
mission statement is your roadmap. And I do think, I think it was Mark Manson who said in one of his books, like it's either like a hell yes, he uses a different word, or a hell no. And
Uh-huh.
mission statements make that differentiation very clear. Is
Mm.
this in alignment with the mission that we so thoughtfully and carefully crafted?
Right.
It's not. And when I think you see family offices doing this, especially because they're inundated with asks for
Oh,
things.
totally.
And it does create a system and a process around grant requests and saying yes or no. And I really think that you can kind of have this very noble out of
Mm.
the obligatory gift. You can
Right.
say to someone, no matter who you are, whether it's you or me or someone who runs a multifamily office, saying, hey, we carefully constructed a mission statement that guides how we give, lead,
Yeah.
serve, etc. And unfortunately, this cause area isn't in alignment with that this year.
Right.
Maybe you innovate your mission statement each year. I recommend taking a look at it annually and
Okay.
tweaking it as need calls for it. Maybe there's this big thing that happened in your life and you want to weave it into your mission statement.
Yes.
And to say, thank you so much for thinking of us for this cause. Unfortunately, we can't support in that way. You could choose to give a much smaller gift or, ask if there are any volunteer opportunities available so you can support
Right.
that person.
Yep.
But it is if I receive that email from someone that's like, oh, they said no because it's not in alignment with their mission statement, like you
Yeah.
can't take that personally. It can't upset the person who's asking. It's such a refined way of approaching how you give. And if anything, it would make me think like, well, I don't have one of those. Like I should probably maybe I should get a mission statement. So
Yes.
I think they're very powerful tools to put in your
Yes.
toolkit.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that article, the topic, inspired me to think about a mission statement for my family. My wife and I have 4 kids, and our oldest is 18. And they have very very limited understanding of philanthropy, but I think even at those stages of life, it's important to say, hey, these are the causes we care about. We want you to know about it. And here's what we where we put our money for some of these causes and why we do it. So
You can even include them in crafting that mission statement, understanding them and the things that they care about. And hey, what do you think you're really good at? What are the things that you think, the skills you have that you could lend to the community? What do
yes.
you worry about in the world that you'd like to see,
Oh, I like that.
changed or improved? And really involving your children in those conversations and even allocating a giving allowance to them and saying, hey, each year I'm going to set aside this amount of money for you, and you can vet and choose an organization that you want to give it to or multiple organizations, but you have to be able to tell me why and
Yeah.
what the money is being used for. And I think that that can really create amazing conversations at the dinner table for families. And
Yeah.
obviously, it's a layer of intention behind what you're doing. And that's some of the work that I do when I work with families. But I'm very, very passionate about involving children in these conversations early. The sooner they're exposed
Mm,
to, the concepts, it really is instilled in them. So
yes. Yeah. That's a great point. Thank you. I'll take all of that.
not like I'm telling you what to do, but that is, those are things you could do if you wanted
Yes.
to take that next step.
Yes, thank you. Um, I have so enjoyed our conversation. I know I've kept you for almost an hour at this point. Um, I would like to go to the fourth question. It's another one of your LinkedIn posts, Brittany, and I was really moved by reading it. Um, and if it's okay with you, when I air your interview on LinkedIn, if I could share the links to those two posts just for other
Absolutely.
people to hear your stories. Um, and it involves a butterfly, and I'm just looking at the questionnaire, wondering how much I should say of it versus how much you should tell the full story. But a post that you wrote was about a butterfly flying near you while you were out to eat. And in the post, you wrote something very moving about legacy. So if you wanted to pick it up from there, the quote, if you have the questionnaire up,
I
to
do.
hear it in your own words versus mine,
Sure.
um, and then we'll get into the question that's related to the quote, please.
Absolutely. I really didn't expect this post to get so much attention and traction. It's really been incredible, the conversations I've had as a result of
Oh,
sharing this, and reinforces just my passion for storytelling. But this one surprised me. I was out to dinner with my daughter and a friend, and we were sitting outside on the patio of a restaurant I go to probably once a week. And there was this beautiful butterfly that just would not leave me alone. It was fluttering all over me, and it would land on my leg, it would land on my arm, and it just would kind of flap open its wings and just sit there. And it got to the point that even people around me started noticing like how this butterfly just, it was almost like it was trying to get my attention.
yes, it's
And
good.
it was doing a good job. I mean, it was remarkable, really, and so beautiful. And it rested on my collarbone, and it sat there for at least a couple of minutes. And it was just
Wow.
kind of tickling me, opening its wings. And then it landed on my hand, my left hand, as I went to eat I'm left-handed, went to eat my dinner. And
Mm,
I just kept thinking, this has to be my mom.
yeah.
Because earlier that week, I was talking to a friend of mine who'd also lost his mom,
Mm,
and we talked about grief. And I said, I would give anything for my mom to come to me in a dream. She's done
yeah.
it one time
Mm,
when probably like a year or two after she passed away. And it was one of the most profound experiences, like so real and emotional. And
yeah.
I've just been like praying that she would do that. And I said that out loud to my
Yeah.
friend Billy. And he and I talked about it. And I was like, oh, maybe she couldn't visit me in my dreams, but she showed up for me here and now in this way and in front of my daughter. And my daughter was like, "That's totally your mom." I mean, she's 8 years old. She's like, "That's
Yeah.
got to be your mommy, you know?" And
Yes.
it was just a really powerful, really, really special moment for me.
Oh, I
Oh,
believe
and I guess
that.
I can read the quote if you'd like.
Yeah. Yes.
So I wrote, legacy isn't just about wealth or influence, but about intention. It's how we use our time and energy and share our stories to make the world a little softer, a little better, and a little more connected.
That is beautiful. And I'm not surprised in some way that it garnered as much traction as it did on LinkedIn because I think people I've read it in posts, I've seen it, I've talked to people about it. They are looking for the authenticity that is in that message on LinkedIn. That we can be connected. I'm in Utah, you're in Texas, and the hundreds of people in our individual networks, we're seeing what is on LinkedIn in this case, and we're hungry for what more is not being displayed often enough. And so you were able to very genuinely cut through whatever noise and and algorithm nonsense is on LinkedIn. And I'm so glad that it resonated with so many people.
Yeah, me too. It was really deeply heartwarming to see the response and get the message. I got a lot of direct messages, which was really cool.
That's awesome. And I totally believe that about your mother visiting you. That's
100%.
yes, absolutely. Um, I'm curious as the quote about legacy related to your client work, what might be a fulfilling part of that for you as you learn about your clients' desires for their legacies? As you sit in these meetings and maybe as you help them craft the mission statement and talk through what their options are, what does it do for you as a person?
Um, I am really excited to answer this question. I I have this like vision that I'll tell you about, like a true, like actual picture in my head. But to me, legacy is meant to be lived. It is not for later, it is now. And I think it's really how we show up each day, understanding that what we're doing today is shaping tomorrow.
Yeah.
So being strategic and thoughtful about how we give and lead and doing that in alignment with our values is living your legacy.
Yes.
And I try to set that example for my clients and for my daughter to the best of my abilities. And I think that's me living in my values and it's a part of my lived legacy.
Mhm.
So I feel, like I said earlier, most people are big-hearted. They just struggle putting feeling into action.
Yeah.
And so I am the fortunate beneficiary of, this opportunity to be the compass for those folks,
Mhm.
and point them in the directions they should go and to walk alongside them, a little bit of support and some thoughtful strategy, and they're, well on their way.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. I think that's a really helpful reframing because I think inherently when a lot of people hear the word legacy, they think of, well, after I'm gone.
Mhm.
But to live the legacy now for yourself and for your family and future, that's awesome. How,
Well,
yeah,
oh, go
no,
ahead.
no, you go ahead. No, please.
Okay. I think I might be answering your next question by saying this, but I see my legacy very visually as a collection of books.
Okay.
And each client, or really any person who plays a significant role in my life or vice versa, is writing their philanthropic story. But especially my clients, right? They're writing their philanthropic stories. And I get the honor of being a co-author to each of their stories and their books. And I think that's pretty damn fulfilling, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
Each book, it has a cast of characters all its own. There's no one story like the other. They are
Sure.
bound differently. Some are thicker than others. And, I actually gift my clients with a photo album it's really more like a coffee table book, but it's blank with blank pages. And it's so they can fill those pages with their philanthropic stories. They can put photos and thank you letters and reflections of their journey as an individual, a business, a family, so that they can look back, and read those stories. And that the beauty of those books, they can be picked up today and read today. They don't
Yes.
have to be put on the shelf and read once someone is gone, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I think for me, and with my legacy, if you imagine one of the most beautiful libraries you've ever seen with like floor to ceiling books.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial, so like I think about the Beauty and the Beast library
Oh,
that when the darkness lifts and the rose is restored and the beast turns into a prince and all these beautiful things are happening and the library just it glistens. And there
yes.
are all of these beautiful books, different colors, different from floor to ceiling. That library, my mental library of the collection of those books, that's my legacy. And
Mm.
I think it's just really beautiful. And it's an incredible thing to visualize as I'm with a client, like, oh, we're writing their book, like filing it on the shelf, and to say I helped them write that book is really and with my daughter and writing my own story. So
Yes.
that's really, I think, the best way I could answer that question.
Thank you for answering that. That is profound. It's moving. I love that you can visualize it yourself and then articulate it to up until an hour ago, like a complete stranger, and an hour into this conversation, like marginally less up than a stranger. And to have that ability to concisely articulate it. And you mentioned Beauty and the Beast, and my daughters and I saw that movie, when they were younger, and um, having those touch points that enhance your story is really moving. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you think so. I
Yeah.
so appreciate this opportunity. It's really been a lot of fun.
Yes, I've enjoyed it as well. And I would never guess this was your first podcast, Brittany, because
Oh, thanks.
it was so comfortable and informative to talk with you. And I so appreciate the preparation you put into your part of the conversation.
Well, thank you. Your questions were extremely thoughtful. I was really impressed and just touched at the effort you put behind them. So thank you. I really enjoyed this a lot.
I enjoyed it as well. Thank you for those compliments. And I'm excited to share your posts when the interview airs on LinkedIn as well. And so for our audience, you'll be able to find Brittany Morrison's conversation across these platforms in early 2026. Please follow her on LinkedIn, and I'll tag you when your post goes live. It'll be on LinkedIn with the link to the YouTube audio video component of this conversation. Also, in the LinkedIn post will be the audio only component on Spotify and Podbean. And then thanks to my 100th guest, Luis Diaz of WISE and the Donor Participation Project. He's sponsoring my website, which is peopleinfundraising.wordifysites.com. And your interview will be there as well for people to see. And it'll be a legacy. Like it's a digital library in the sense of all the conversations I've had.
It's
And
your library. I love that.
yes. And in a way, it's open access. Like there's no paywall. Anyone can go look there. So I'm honored to add your conversation to that library, Brittany.
Thank you. I'm very honored as well to be on.
Thank you. And I look forward to following more of your content on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Same.
Thank you. And have a great rest of your day. And for our audience,
You.
I'll see you in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you.